Okay, now we're recording. I just was clicking on the wrong thing. Okay, so there are three components to a buyer consult. The average buyer consult, if done thoroughly, is going to take you 90 minutes to 2 hours. And you may think, sweet Jesus, that's a long time. But the time you spend on a proper buyer consult will save you time in the end, because what it does is it builds trust. It builds trust, it builds rapport. Those two things are vital to a solid foundation for a really great relationship with your buyer. Okay, so the first component is I dive right into the legal paperwork, the agency paperwork, explaining, understanding whom agents represent, explaining dual agency, explaining the difference between buyer and seller agency, explaining the buyer agency agreement, and this includes talking about and just explaining right up front, how do we get paid? Right up front. I go into, no, I am not on a salary, and I just ask people, do you have any idea how agents get paid? And they're like, no, not really. A lot of people, there's a misconception of, oh, agents are full of money and this and that. But in reality, they actually don't know how we're paid. Okay. So it's super important to review how you get paid. Now, why do you talk about how you get paid right away? Because people will respect your time, and it will also teach them. Oh, Anisha got herself a nice little background.
Is this background, miss?
A virtual background. So I love that. That's awesome. That is awesome.
I was like, what is up with her head? It's the background.
Like, I didn't know your house looked like that. Wow.
I know. I was like, where is she? And then I was like, oh shit, she's got a virtual background.
I need the tutorial for the virtual background later. Thank you.
Okay, hold on. All right.
Offline,
So
offline.
Anisha, we are, I took your advice and we're doing a buyer consult, not the listing presentation. So thank you very much.
Cool.
But this also is being recorded so that I can put this in our future training courses. So just to let you know. So if you're watching this in the future, we all did this during COVID-19.
Okay.
Hey, COVID. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen and we're gonna go over, yep, there you go. All right, so
Yes.
when you are doing a buyer consult, either via Zoom or in person, you're gonna wanna come with, where is it? Miscellaneous forms. You wanna come with the following forms: understanding who real estate agents represent, consent for dual agency, dual agency within a team,
ABA.
exclusive buyer agency agreement. Also a few others that I like to just get out of the way. I bring the first 11 pages of the contract. I strike through it and I write sample. I'll tell you how I present that in a second. I also bring the affiliated business arrangement. That's the ABA. It explains that the buyer has the right to choose. I'll explain that in a second as well. Let's get through agency first. I also bring lead paint, and I do a lead paint, red soapbox kind of thing. And I think that's about it. Okay, so let's do folders. And if you look here, you can go to agency forms. They're all right here. Okay, buyer agency, consent for dual agency. Oh, consumer notice of this is a good one too. There's the ABA, and I think that's, notification of dual agency within a team. We'll hit copy and we're gonna go over these. And so I tell people, I'm like, look, let's get the boring stuff out of the way so that if you have any questions about any of this, then we can, deal with that, and then we can get to the fun stuff and talk about what you're looking for. Sound like a plan? The other thing is, I always check in. Sound like a plan? Do you understand? Do you have any questions? I ask those 3 questions repeatedly throughout the process. Are you okay? Because what you're doing is you're getting permission to move on. Do you have any questions? Did you understand all of that? What's going on? Okay. You want to check in and make sure you haven't gone too fast or too slow. Okay. So next. Well, of course, understanding whom real estate agents represent didn't get in there. There it is. So I think that you don't actually have to do this anymore, but I think still you have to do it with your own client, is understanding whom real estate agents represent, okay? I would produce this in front of them anyway and explain, agents who represent the seller. There is a seller's agent and a sub-agent. This form can be a little bit complicated, but sometimes if you add in a history lesson, it helps to explain why things are the way they are. So in real estate history, buyers didn't have representation. It wasn't until sometime in the 90s when the lawmakers said, hey, buyers should be represented. Because back in the day, only sellers could hire a realtor to help them market and sell property. If a buyer reached out to a real estate agent, that real estate agent represented the seller all the time, period. Okay? So the way the law states now, until a buyer hires a realtor, which we'll get to in a second, until a buyer hires a realtor, all realtors represent the sellers. So if you're going out onto Zillow or HotPads or Realtor.com, those agents represent the sellers, even if it's not their listing. So it's important to make sure that they know that, okay, that all listings are represented by all agents represent the seller until they've been hired to represent the buyer. Buyers have the right to now hire an agent. It does come with compensation, but I'm going to explain it to you in a minute, okay? So don't worry about paying me just yet. And then there's dual agents. So let me explain the brokerage process. So technically, even if you did hire me or the seller hires me, I'm not hired by you. You hire the broker, right? You hire Mr. Coldwell Banker. He's the broker. But as you know, Coldwell Banker is a really big company. And so therefore, there are a lot of agents that then work for him. And all of those agents represent buyers and sellers with the appropriate documentation, which means then we have something called dual agent. And all clients should pre-agree to dual agency so that if you're a buyer and you pre-agree to dual agency, I can then show you listings listed by Coldwell Banker, okay? And this is where things get complicated. So here's one of my, I'm gonna check in now and I'm gonna say, does that sound good? Do you understand? And people will tell you, I understand or I don't understand. And this is also where you really need to read a lot of body language and make sure that you're saying, are you sure you understand? Because I'm not feeling like you understand. Like, I'll just call them out. I'm not feeling like you understand. And they'll go, well, you kind of lost me at the dual agent thing. Okay, then you need to explain it again, okay? And so find different ways to explain these things. And if you're having someone that is having trouble, then come to me and I'm happy to explain it in a variety of different ways. Yes, Mike?
Oh, no question, just move on.
All right, so I explain that with them. I show them that, at the first appointment, I am supposed to just show you that I've explained to you, buyer representation, seller representation, okay, this is not a contract, etc. You don't have to sign here. The other thing is, whether you're doing this virtually or in person, if you're doing it virtually, you can do it exactly like I'm doing it right now, where you're sharing your screen, okay? Now, back to the history lesson, when a seller hires an agent to help them sell a house, they pay a commission. They pay a commission to their agent, and from traditional perspective, they pay the buyer's agent as well. However, times are a-changing and not all sellers pay the buyer's agent. I am still, no, this is me speaking as a buyer's agent. I am still traditionally, typically paid by the seller's agent, but there are the occasions that I'm not. And in which case, I will let you know if I'm not being properly compensated. Now, it says right here in this agreement that, if my computer would work, hold on, it's moving really slow. There we go. Compensation due to the broker. Hold on here. In the event that I'm going to put in that I get paid because my minimum fee to represent a buyer is 2.5%. You can put whatever you want in. Anisha's going to jump all over me and tell me that she puts in 3%, and that's cool. I put in 2.5 because that's typically what's put out on the street, and that's my minimum. I won't go any lower than that. Okay. So I'm going to put in 2.5%. What this means is that somewhere here, intracompany agent, where is it, Anisha? It's somewhere in here. That it says that the compensation is offset by what is paid from the listing broker. Here, fee paid by seller. Broker is authorized to receive compensation may be offered from the listing broker. Yada, yada, yada. The amount of compensation shall be credited against the compensation agreed upon in 7B. Okay, so if I'm paid 2.5% by the listing broker, then great. Then you don't have to pay me anything. But there are the occasions when I'm not. And I just want you to understand and be aware of that. I may let you know, hey, you've picked a home where I'm not being paid by the seller, which means that you would have to pay me or we would have to part ways. And this is also the opportunity where I say, and I say it very lightheartedly, because I'm not a nonprofit realtor. Right? I just put it out there. I'm not a nonprofit realtor. So do you also, and then I also use this as an opportunity to explain, do you know how the agents get paid? I don't get all of that 2.5 either. I have to put 35% to the government. I pay X amount of dollars towards my team or my brokerage or whatever. For me, it's, I have all of my marketing expenses, plus my taxes, plus this, plus that. So at the end of the day, out of that 2.5%, I get to live off of about 0.8. Right? So I just put it out there. I explain it. I'll tell you one thing. When you give people the knowledge of how you get paid, because everybody lives off of what they get paid, people get respectful about your time. And if they're not, then they're not worth it. Okay? Is everybody following? Just put it out there. Then this is also the opportunity for you to say, and there's a $450 fee to Coldwell Banker. And that's where you're like, and I don't get that. That just goes to Mr. Coldwell Banker. Okay. Now, what this allows me to do is to help you locate and locate property. This helps me this allows me to help you to negotiate, pull comparable sales, give you some advice and suggestions. At the end of the day, the property, these are typically resale properties and they are being sold as is, and it is buyer beware. So I'm going to be here to hold your hand through the entire process. But at the end of the day, this is your choice. Okay. So I only want you to do what's comfortable for you. So I go through all of that. It allows me to do, I jokingly say, because I try to like float in lighthearted stuff because they're always so nervous, right? They're like freaking out by they're freaking out. Like the last buyer consult that I did, she was freaking out when she came in the door. So I jokingly say, I'm also allowed to do ministerial acts. I can marry you. And then I go, not really. I'm like, actually what I can do is I can just do things on your behalf. I can go and meet like a contractor or that kind of stuff. So that's how I explain that. Anisha, how did I do?
I think that's hilarious. I never thought of it that way, but that's hilarious. Corny as hell, but hilarious. The ministerial acts.
I know. I just, you know, it lightens the mood. Because they're like, oh, and I'm like, I can marry you, and then they're like, they just laugh. So, okay. Then I explain dual agency. Okay, I am going to give you guys a pop quiz. Anisha, you can't answer this question. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, Oh, she's talking to Jaden now. All right, here's the pop quiz. You are holding one of the team's listings open. A buyer walks in and says, I want to buy this. Can you help me? And you say, yes, I can help you. And they tell you, I don't need representation. I just need you to write the contract. Okay. I want to know 2 things from you. Mike, what agency forms do you need?
Do you have to do the one-time showing form for them?
Wrong.
Okay.
Jason, what agency forms do you need?
So you need the understanding whom agents represent form.
Yep. And how is it filled out?
I don't have it in front of me now, but it's filled out in the, you're not the agent, the person is the customer. I'm not seeing the form right now, but it's a if I see the form, I can tell you the spot.
Okay. Hold on. I'll get back to it. Oops. I do not know what just happened there.
I'm logging off, but I'll pop right back in.
Cool.
Don't miss me too much.
Expect a new background.
Here it is.
Okay, so then you would be you're the sub agent of the seller.
Yes. What else do you need?
Okay, so I think that's everything you need on this particular form. My question, because I don't know, so it's no need of me bullshitting. Do you need dual agency within the team?
No.
That's what I didn't think so, but I wanted to ask before
that was the trick pop quiz. Okay.
Okay.
Here's why. You only represent the seller here.
Right.
Well, there's no dual.
So there is no dual.
Yep.
Okay. No dual. You only represent the seller in that scenario. Super, super, super important. It's also very, very important that you do explain we the buyers understand that Coldwell Banker and Jason Hall is working as the seller's agent.
Gotcha.
Or the sub-agent, seller's agent and sub-agent of the seller. Okay? Because in that case, we only represent the seller. Okay? It is important for you to explain when you're explaining agency, and it is complicated, and this is why this appointment takes an hour and a half to 2 hours, because you're going to spend a lot of time explaining and to say, look, you know, my team is a pretty busy team. There may be the instance in which my team leader has a listing that you may be interested in. I do have the ability to represent you with a contract. You can still purchase and I can still represent you. We do a very good job at keeping things separate. Jason, you've got a personal story. You did it, you represented. If we needed to, we escalated things to the manager so that things stayed separate and represented on both sides, okay? So you have to explain, that's how then you explain dual agency within a team, okay? So then again, that's where I go to, is everybody good? Do you have any questions? Blah, 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 okay? The next component, because it's in documentation, is so once I've shown them all of that and explained how I get paid, then I move into, here is a copy of the contract. This is the first 11 pages. Right here, this is what I call the meat and potatoes. This is the legal promise. You are promising to buy the house and they are promising to sell it to you. These 11 pages dictate all of that, okay? Now, there are additional addendums that I will explain to you when you select the home, because when you select the home you want to put an offer in on, we're going to have another meeting just like this that probably lasts somewhere about 45 minutes where I go through every single one of these pages so that you understand. So I'm not going to explain the full thing to you now, but I'm giving this to you now so you can familiarize yourself with these pages. Sound good? They usually go, yep, and then we move on. Then the next component is, the last thing I want to talk to you about in this boring section of this appointment is the lead paint, okay? I said my lead paint speech has a little tiny history lesson and an explanation, okay? Here's the history lesson for you. And I did the research so that I would be more knowledgeable. So lead was put into paint to make it more durable, and unfortunately it was. Today's paint isn't as good as the old lead paint. However, lead paint proved to be a problem. So what lead paint poisoning does is it creates learning disabilities. It affects a developing mind. So therefore, and this is, again, remember how I said I sprinkle in lightheartedness? So I go, therefore, you and I, we're good. We're going the other direction. However, children and pregnant women are susceptible to lead paint poisoning, which means that if you are in a house that has chipping or peeling paint, which, hold on, I got ahead of myself. So let me go back. So lead was put into paint to make it more durable. In 1950, they banned the production of lead in paint. In 1978, they banned the use of any more lead paint. So if you're looking at a home that was built before 1950, the likelihood of it having some sort of lead paint in there is pretty high. If the house was built between 50 and 78, it might, okay? If it's 51, it probably does. If it's 76, then, it might not, okay? Because then you're using 20-year-old lead paint at that point, which is disgusting. But it's possible, okay? Now, that all being said, like I said, lead paint affects a developing mind. Now, there are two ways you can test for lead paint poisoning. The first test is literally a radioactive gun where they come and they shoot it at the surfaces. They shoot it at the walls, the trim, the doors. And it gives you a reading on how much percentage of lead paint is in the surface. That's the first way. The second way are what's called dust swipes, where an environmental agency comes in and does little dust swipes all throughout the property, okay? Now, on those dust swipes, if you had two of the exact same property in the exact same condition, and one family does regular cleanings, vacuumings, and dustings, and the other family does not, you're going to have a higher lead level over here just because the dust is allowed to collect than over here, okay? So number one, if you do buy a home that was built before 1950, just regular cleanings. Number two, lead paint, you may say to yourself, and I literally explain all of this at every single buyer's appointment. Number two is, you may say, well, I'm not gonna go chew on the walls. Fair enough. However, lead paint actually has a sweet taste to it. So therefore, if you have a baby crib up against a wall or a window, and you have a baby that is teething, and they happen to wake up and they pull themselves up in the crib and they're gnawing on whatever the hell they can gnaw on, and they might be gnawing on that windowsill, they might like the taste of it, okay? So these are things of importance to understand. Maybe don't put it next to the window. Again, you can do their test. The other thing is chipping and peeling paint. Babies have sticky hands. If they're crawling around and they have paint chips that are sticking to their hands and then they stick their hands in their mouths, again, that is how you ingest it, okay? These are the ways that you can ingest lead paint poisoning. I'm not telling you this to scare this of anyone, and I just do it because knowledge is power, right? So now you have the choice. You can choose. However, here's the other piece of this knowledge. Baltimore is a really old town, right? So most, if not the majority of homes were built before 1950. So yes, you have the right to have a lead paint test, but most of it you're going to have is going to tell you that, yeah, there's some semblance of lead paint in there. Here's what to look for. Number one, if lead paint is encapsulated, meaning it is not chipping and falling, then it's not creating a dust that you can inhale. Number two, maybe they replaced the trim. You're looking at friction places, windows, doors, right? That's where you can create a lot of those chips and that dust. That being said, or if you plan on doing any major renovation, that's another place that you can have exposure, one. And two, there were laws passed in 2012-ish that require pretty significant Environmental Protection Agency strategies if you are doing major renovation on a property that does have lead paint. So all of that is stuff to take into consideration if you do plan on doing work or you plan on buying a house that is older than 1950. Again, lots of people do it. And then this is where I'll then sometimes jump into a story. My first house was built in 1890. I had my 2 babies there. I did major renovations there. I did major renovations while I was pregnant. And, you know, and they do lead tests on babies like a month and a year. And, you know, and my babies never tested with any amount of lead in their levels, in their blood. So, you know, it's very possible to, you know, do renovations, be pregnant, all of that in a house that was built before 1950. So, and then again, once I've done that little speech, then I say, you good? Any questions? And then they'll be like, no. And I'm like, okay. Like, now, what do you want? And many times, and so I'll take a blank piece of paper and I start asking them lots of questions. This is the opportunity for you to really shine. Like now you've demonstrated how knowledgeable you are about the process, about lead paint, about all this other stuff. You know, they're either bored, but they're like, wow, she knows her shit, right? So they're into you, they're there, right? So it's like, okay, what are you looking for? And, you know, depending on where they are, where they're coming from, you know, you may want to start kind of pinging them with some questions, like maybe they're moving here from out of town. And so it's like, well, and I'm like, they're like, well, I don't really know. And it's like, okay. So a couple of strategies that I've had is, well, where else have you lived that you loved, right? And they might say, well, I really loved living in Austin. Okay, can you give me the address? And I will literally Google the address, because practically everything there, and I'll either do Street View or whatever, and I can then see what they liked about that house. Okay. What are you looking to accomplish? Where do you work, and what do you do when you're not working? Right? Where are you going? Do you like hitting nature? Do you like to go run? Do you like to kayak or bike or hike, or, you know, what are you doing when you're not working? Where are you working? Where do your friends live? Okay, so that's in narrowing down the area. Or somebody might automatically come to you and say, I want to live in White Marsh. Okay, can you tell me more about that? Right? Get really used to, don't take that first answer for face value. Dig deep, right? Can you tell me more about that? What does that mean for you? Well, I have a bunch of friends that live here. But didn't you say you worked in Catonsville? Yes. So that's going to be quite a commute for you. Are you okay with that? Yes, I am, or no, I'm not, or, you know, whatever. Like, dig deep, okay? And, you know, well, what is it about White Marsh that you like? Well, it's a little bit newer. It's this, it's that, those kinds of things, right? So drill down the area. What do you like? Well, I like all the shopping. I like the restaurants. I like the different neighborhoods. I like whatever it might be, right? And so then you might want to say to them, well, if you like White Marsh, but you work in Catonsville, have you considered Owings Mills? Have you considered this? Like, be the knowledge broker. This is who you are. They've come to you because they want your help, you know, and they may say to you, you know, I've checked out things in Owings Mills. It's a little bit more expensive than White Marsh. I don't really think that that's for me. It's not quite far enough along in its development. Whatever the fuck they want to say, go ahead and offer it, okay? And then say, okay, all right, I've got you. If they have no idea where they want to live, you know, start high level, urban or suburban. I want to live urban. or somewhere in between. I don't want to be so far out that it takes me forever to get downtown because I do like to go downtown. Okay, cool. Townhouse, single family, do you want a patch of grass? Do you not want to do any gardening? Do you love to garden? Do you have any pets? Do you plan on getting any pets? How many people will be living in the property? Blah, blah, blah. What's your favorite room in the house? What do you love to do to unwind? Are you willing to do work? Like ask question after question after question after question. Like keep going, okay? So I'm gonna role play it with Jason for a second. So Jason, do you have any idea what part of town you think you wanna live in?
Yeah, I'm kind of partial to Owings Mills.
You're partial to Owings Mills. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
So it's close to my family. My dad lives in Reisterstown. It's just convenient. Plus, I was raised predominantly on the west side of Baltimore and Baltimore County.
And your dad lives in Reisterstown?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And are you thinking like townhouse, single family? What are you thinking?
I would prefer single family, but I'm flexible to the option of a townhouse if that's what my budget requires.
Okay. And we're going to get to your budget in a minute, but what is your budget?
I can't spend any more than $275.
Okay. So you said you would love a single family if you could, but you're flexible for a townhouse. So can you tell me about like, what are you looking for in that house? Tell me your must-haves first, and
Okay.
then we'll go into your wish list.
Okay, must-haves: master bathroom, deck, and open concept.
Can you tell me more about that open concept you're looking for?
I just want especially if it's a townhouse type of property, I want an open, like I don't want, the current home I'm in, we have a wall surrounding the kitchen. So like if I wanted to look at my television while it's on while cooking, I can't do so. There's a wall there that's blocking that.
Okay.
And I don't want that in my next home.
Okay, so am I hearing that you like to cook?
Yes.
Are you a good cook?
Yes.
What's your specialty?
Man, I do a great salmon.
Oh, you do? What do you do to it?
I kind of do like a teriyaki and orange ginger glaze. And then I bake it, and for like the last 5 minutes of it, I put it on broil, just to get a minimum, just a little char.
You deliver?
Right?
What happened? I'm sorry.
So here's the thing. I did that on purpose because I will do that on a buyer consult. I will 100% go sideways because I'm now building rapport. Okay. I'm not all business all the time. And I'm going to go back to Jason and I'm going to be like, man, that sounds amazing. I would love to I'd love to get your recipe. I'd love to talk to more about that. So that's awesome. So you're, all right. So back to the house. So you love to cook and you want to be able to see the TV while you're cooking, right?
Yes.
Okay. So anything else about that? So if it had like a separate dining room, it wasn't fully open. Do you see how I'm drilling down here? His priority is kitchen to living room. If the dining room had a wall, are you okay with that?
I would be okay with that.
Okay. Your priority is your sight line from the kitchen to the family room.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. So tell me about, you said master bath. Do we need like a big master bath or, like a small 3/4 bath, meaning like you've got a sink and a shower and a potty? Or do you want something bigger with like double sinks?
So I would like something with double sinks and a tub, but if I like the house enough, I'll settle for a 3/4 where there's just a potty and maybe a shower where I don't have to be in the other restrooms in the home.
Okay. All right, cool. So tell me the next most important feature you want in this house.
I would say those were mine. The next one will really be a deck. I will prefer I'll settle for a deck. Like I know a lot of townhouses won't have a ton of yard space, so I'm giving up a little bit of yard space now. But if I have at least a deck where I can sit outside on my deck, I would be open to that, even if there's little to no yard space.
Okay. And do you plan on, or do you have any pets currently?
Yes, I have a cat.
You have a cat. Okay. That indoor, outdoor cat.
Indoor.
Okay. So the outside space doesn't mean anything for the pet.
Nope.
Got it. Okay. Do you have any other like must-haves?
Well, I'd say a must-have would be 3 bedrooms.
Okay. And my other question is now onto your wish list. Like if you could wave a magic wand and you'd find your perfect house, what does that look like?
So perfect house for me would be, so it would be open concept, 3 bedroom, some sort of a master bath. It doesn't have to be a full master bath, with a deck. And it doesn't matter, but if I waved a wand, I would like to have a basement. But that's not like a major thing. But if I'm waving a wand and
A
creating
finished basement or an unfinished, or does it not matter?
Depending on the price point, I'd be okay with unfinished because I can finish it during ownership.
Okay. Are you handy?
I'm handy enough. I'm not Bob Villa, but I'm handy enough.
Do you have friends that are handy?
Yes, I am. Yes, I do.
Okay. Now, are you willing to like knock down walls, or are you only willing to like paint?
No, I'll knock down walls. I might put up a little drywall. I might paint, but that's the furthest you're gonna get me.
Plumbing, electrical, you'll sub that out?
Yeah, for sure. That's not my bag.
Gotcha. Okay, so you had talked about Owings Mills. I want to get back to the area for 1 second. Would you consider Pikesville or like Milford Mill area, or do you really want to be further out in like Owings Mills proper?
I preferably want to be further out because the change in the money in the area is going towards like the bottom of Owings Mills and up, like from Owings Mills to Reisterstown.
Mm-hmm.
The neighborhood is completely changing from lower Owings Mills down to Randallstown, Milford Mill, Pikesville, etc.
Gotcha. But if you got everything you wanted that you just told me about with a basement and that open concept, but it was slightly south, closer to Pikesville, would you do it or would you just not do it?
No, if it hit everything over the head, yeah, I'd have to see it. But
Bingo, did you just see what I did?
Yeah.
Because he told me no 5 seconds ago.
Yeah.
So if you take people's answers for their face value, you're going to miss shit. Okay? So I basically because I know what's going to happen is he's going to go online and he's going to find that house in fucking Milford Mill, and then he's going to be pissed at me that I didn't send it to him. And you're going to go, oh, well, you told me you wanted Owings Mills. We have to do a deep dive discovery. Okay? All right. So you would love to have a basement. You want outside space. You want an open sight line from the kitchen. And you're thinking 275, right?
Yeah, 275 is the max where I can go.
Now, on a buyer consult, I dive into this. And this is where I want you guys to pay close attention to this role play right here. Some of you have seen me do this before, but I want you to pay attention again. So I'm going to then straight up say, how did you arrive at 275?
So I'm actually approved for 315, but from talking to my lender, I gave my lender an idea of what I want my payment to be.
Okay.
And my lender said that.
What do you want your payment to be?
I want my payment to be no more than 17 all in a month.
Okay, and they told you 275 for that, right?
Yeah, they said 275 is like the super duper cap. Do not exceed that if I want that payment.
Correct. Okay. So what that means is if you're looking at Owings Mills, a lot of Owings Mills also comes with, because they're newer, they come with condominium or homeowners association fees. So we're gonna really have to be mindful about how much those homeowners association fees, because they go on top of your payment, which means we may even need to lower it even a little bit more, which is why I'm glad you said earlier you would be willing to stretch your area, because I'm thinking I might even be able to find you a single family with your open concept for the 275-ish in a slightly borderline area from where you were talking about, like a little further south, maybe a little bit west, you know. And again, here's my promise to you, Jason, my fictional buyer. If I take you somewhere that you don't like or you don't want to go, you're just like, you know what, this is not for me. Please don't take me here again. And I will be like, that is fine.
Okay.
Because these are not my houses. But I have a little agreement that I have with everyone in my world, even my kids, when they don't want to try a new food. And I call it, it's humor me. And what it is, hey, you know what? I think you might like this. Let's just go. It's not going to hurt anybody. Huh? Just humor me. Just humor me. If you hate it, you tell me you hate it, and I will never take you there again.
Okay.
And you wouldn't believe how many houses I've sold on the humor me concept. Like I had a guy, my best friend, you guys met Michael and Robert, okay? I've been friends with him since we were 13 years old. His first husband, I don't know if they ever got married. They didn't get married, but they were like common law married. He was from North Dakota. He was like, I do not want to live in the city. I started showing them houses. And everything they said was like screaming the city.
Yeah.
And I was like, can you just humor me, please? I'm like, can we just do a tour in the city? If you hate it, same thing. This was in like, I was pregnant with Maddie. So this was like 2002. And so I was like, all you need to do, you tell me, you hate it, you tell me, and I'll never bring you here again. Where'd they buy a house?
In the city.
In the city. So don't be that professional. So now I'm going to say, okay, he wants to be no more than 1,700. How much cash do you have to put into the deal?
I've got about $7,500 right now, but my lenders talked to me about some programs that I qualify for to get some additional money.
Okay, we can also sometimes negotiate where we can ask the seller to pay some of the closing costs. So, so that's cool. And I will want to chat with your lender just so that we're all on the same page, and we are, because we're a team, we all work together, and we will, we'll be putting this package together when we make that offer, when we find the house you want to make an offer on. Sound like a plan?
Sounds like a plan.
Awesome. Okay, so you have about 7,500 in cash, 1,700. Do you mind if I just math check?
Sure.
So right now, the way interest rates work is they're about $5 per thousand. Okay, so at 275, you're probably going to be getting a whatchamacallit, an FHA loan, which is 97% loan to value. Here's what I'm doing. I'm literally doing this. Oh, and by the way, watch this shit. Yeah, that's my phone.
Yes.
Okay, so $275,000 times 0.97 is a loan amount of 266. Okay, 275 minus 266. Yeah, I can't even do simple math. It's $9,000. $9,000 is already more than the 7,500 he's got. Okay, so we have $9,000. 266. Remember pre-licensing with your amortization schedule, right?
Yep.
We're going to take 266,000 and times that by about 4.5 based on the current interest rates. So your principal and interest is about $1,200. If you do 266 times 5, you're at $1,330. Okay, that's for P and I.
Mhm.
Okay.
What interest?
Now, if the property's worth 275 and in the county, your tax rate is 1.1%. So you're going to do that, which is 3025 divided by 12 is 252. So we're at 1330 plus 252, right? And then maybe another 100 for homeowner
Insurance.
insurance. Okay, so 1330 plus
252.
1330 plus 252 plus 100 is 1682.
Yep.
So, yep. Now, like I said, this does not include an HOA fee. So if you do not want to go over 1700, we might need to drop you down to 250. Is that
Cool.
okay?
Yeah, that's cool. That's okay.
Okay. All right. So,
But what I'll say is that depending upon, because I left myself a buffer when giving numbers to my lender, depending upon how far over 17, I might be open. So
okay.
let's just, so humor me.
Oh, I like how you spun that around. Happy to humor you. So, okay, I'm gonna, so I think I have a good idea. The next part of this, okay, so can you see, this is the training part. Can you see how if you sat there and really dug in to what they want, how much they want to pay, can you see how much rapport and trust you're going to build right off the bat?
Yeah.
You haven't gone out to look at a house. You haven't done anything, but you are demonstrating you are knowledgeable about the contract. You're knowledgeable about the process. You care about what they want. You're listening to what they want with their money, right?
Mhm.
So then I go over here. I add them to Sierra. So we're going to go in, we're going to add a lead. Now, what I highly recommend that you do is that you
I
log
have to switch it out.
into Sierra on your own so that you're there, okay? So I'm going to test person. I'll just delete them later. Okay, and then we're going to do, ABC, ABD at msn.com, house, and we're going to put, 410-555-1212, blah, 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 right? And we're not going to send them a notification, and we're going to submit and close. Oh, add lead source, right? So let's say it's sphere of influence, sphere referral, submit and close. Okay, so we're going to put them in. Here's our test person. And we're going to go over here to searches. Okay, and then we're going to go in here, create saved search. Create saved search in MRIS. Now, remember the GGMS thing. To change your list, schedule a showing, or get more information, call, text 410-927-1008. Okay? We're going to send it daily unless you'd like me to send it to you more frequently. You just want a daily digest for now, Jason?
Yeah, daily is good enough for now.
Daily digest. Okay. So I'm going to go to the map for a second here. And I'm going to type in 21117. Oops, it likes the list. 21. Hold on. Let's go with, I need an address. God damn it. Forget it. I'll just scroll. You can click and drag, right? So he's talking about Owings Mills, which is here. Okay. So, and I'm going to show him this. And if we're in the office, I'm going to project it onto the screen up on in our office. Okay. If we're on Zoom like this, I'm going to go here. Okay. So I'm going to say, all right, let's see. Maybe we can go in here, right? You want Owings Mills. Do you want to go out as far as like Dolefield Road? Do you want to go out as far as Franklin? Like how far out do you?
Yeah, I'll take it out to Franklin because my dad lives off of Franklin on Tarragon.
Okay. Do you want both sides of 795? Would you want me to go over to Green Spring and like maybe down to Liberty, like this whole?
Yeah,
like,
let's do it all. I'm open to everything.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to go like this. I'm going to click around. And you know what? The beauty of this is we can change it. Okay. All right. How do you like that?
Yep. I love it.
You love it. All right. So now we've got the area down. So we're going to now go into, now you said you're willing for a townhouse or detached. So I'm actually not going to, well, I'm going to choose that and that because we don't want the condos, right?
Yeah. No condos.
All right. And we're going to go from say 225 to 275. And you said you really want a deck, but you also said you wanted an outdoor space. So if I put in a deck, then that's going to take away anything that maybe doesn't have a deck but has a patio. So I'm going to leave this here. We'll kind of go through it on our own. We're not going to do any of this stuff. We're going to look here. And I think we're done. And we're just going to save the search. Now.
Question.
Yes.
Sorry. No basement because basement was on the wish list?
Basement was on the wish list.
Okay.
And we're just going to see what we get. Okay. Now, when you do this, this is where you guys want to pay attention from using of this thing. I want you to go to this right here. This is, see where it says view to suggest listings? So you're going to click on that. Okay. It's going to import the same criteria and you're going to click submit and it's going to have this pop-up window. Okay. And so now this is also another opportunity for you to shine, right? Right here. Hey, what does this do for you, Jason? I literally am like, what does this do for you? Does this float your boat? Does this not float your boat? It's not my house. I don't care. It's not my opinion. It's yours. And
it seems okay.
It's okay. It's got your deck. So you want to hear what's also not being said. Like first off, there's no sight line to the family room. So this would, and now since you said there's no sight line to the family room, I'm assuming that this is a no-go for you, right, Jason?
Yeah, no, I'm not pressed about it.
So let's go through the second one. This looks like it's a townhouse. What does this do for you? It's a side, it's an end of group.
Okay, I do like that it's an end of group.
It does look still like the kitchen is closed off, but it's got a nice deck. Now, I can also add things to the list. It does not mean that we're going to go out and see it. We're just picking a list of stuff. And what I like to do is I like to look with you so that I can see what makes you happy. Okay. So if this isn't doing it for you, I'm going to move on. You want me to move on?
Yes.
Got it. What do you think of this?
Yeah, just from the outside.
Yeah. Okay. I agree with you. That's ugly as shit. Next.
Okay. Yeah, I'm open to that one.
Well, you still only barely have a sight line, but are you okay? I mean, you could also conceivably, you know what I've seen people do?
Damn.
Is to put, make this the sort of family room right here, and then you eat behind this wall.
Well, I love the floors and I love that it's open and it's more of a sight line than what I have at the moment. So I would like to at least see it in person.
Right, I'm going to go ahead and add that to the list. Let's see what this next one is. Now that's a single family, but it looks like it's got a lot of walls. So as we start to go through here and I start to learn what you like, I'm going to go a little faster because I'm going to make some assumptions. If I'm wrong, you stop me and tell me that I'm wrong. But I'm assuming you're not, based on what we've already looked at, you don't like this one.
Yep. Nope.
Nope. Next. All right, so this one has a garage. However, what this means is it's going to chop off some of your basement, because that's how they get a garage into a townhouse. Okay, and that's it. 229. These are all the photos you've got. So
Yeah, I'm good. You can keep
okay.
moving.
Sherwood Farm Road. I've actually sold a couple houses on Sherwood Farm Road. Again, the kitchen's going to be behind this wall.
Okay. Nah, not for me.
All right. Moving on. How about this one? What do we have here? This one is on Reisterstown Road. Now, here, there are a few places where I do, as an agent,
Yeah, she's
instill my personal opinion. And it's very few opportunity, but this is one of them. So this house, it looks cute. I don't know if you like it or not. Looks like it
Yeah,
might.
it looks nice.
The thing is this is on Reisterstown Road, which means it is on a very busy road. And I typically do not advocate to buy a house on a busy road. They are extremely hard to resell. People don't want to live on a busy road. I mean, once in a while you have a random person that does. My business partner lives on a busy road and she says it's fine. But every house I've ever had to sell on a busy road is like really difficult. So you come to me, you're here to buy a house because you want, a slice of wealth building and investment. If an investment is what, I'm here to remind you of the investment side. It's not just a place to sleep and enjoy. So buying a house on a busy road is not my big thing.
So let me ask you this, because I don't, you're the professional and I don't really know any better, but it's been sitting for a long time. It's on the main road. The main road side of it doesn't bother me. Is there a price point where you would think it would be worth the investment in that house, even though it's on the main road? Because obviously I wouldn't want to pay top of my opportunity, which is $275. It's already been sitting for almost a year.
Correct.
So is there a number?
And this is where I'm speaking both as a role-playing agent, and Anisha, you can tell me how you would do this, but for me, there is never a price point that I would buy a house on a busy road. I don't care if you gave it to me, fine, because I'd fire sale it. But I'm never going to pay to buy a house on a busy road, especially not Reisterstown Road.
So one question before we go to
Reisterstown Road, York Road, Bel Air Road. I don't care. Any of the main like bike wheel spokes of Baltimore. I'm not buying a house on that.
So one question before we go to Berkeley. Almost like I remember there's a story that Anisha tells about how she kept walking around the house and saying that it smelled like dog piss. And she started
pee. It just smelled like pit bull.
Whatever. So she started identifying it as the smelly dog house, right? Mm-hmm. And then eventually the client was like, okay, yeah, I want to buy the smelly dog house. Where's the fine line that I walk in terms of putting too much of my personal opinion?
Okay. So I have clients that I have helped them buy and sell 6 times. I helped them buy their first house in like 1999 in Towson on Egbert. I helped them sell that and buy their second house. So that's 1, 2, 3, right? I helped them sell. They bought it, they sold it, they bought. They did this at the top of the market. They bought on a great location. They bought on a cul-de-sac, but they still paid top dollar. They came to me and they wanted to buy a house on Seminary Avenue. And I literally stood there and I said, John, Jenny, I love you guys, but you can't buy this house. I don't want you to buy this house. It's not a good idea. It will take you forever to sell it when it is time. And we went back again and they were like, but the interior of the neighborhood sells for $800,000. This one's only on the market for $600,000. I'm like, okay, but you got Seminary Avenue right there. You got a double yellow line and Falls Road is that way and York Road is that way. I'm like, it's not a good idea. I mean, I begged them not to buy it. And one day they came to me and they said, Alicia, we know you don't want us to buy this house, but we want to buy that house. And I was like, okay, you know, just when you call me to sell this one, just be prepared. It's going to take a long time. 3, 4, 5 times the average market time frame to get this house sold.
Register Avenue.
Register Avenue. Houses on busy, you know, like in Sharon would say, like Manor Road, we had a listing on Manor Road. Were you with us yet on Manor Road when I had the listing on Manor Road?
I don't think so.
Yeah, by the garage, by the graveyard.
No, that was Poplar Hill. Manor Road was out my way. That, you know, again, and this was out this way when Manor Road's, it's a busy road, but it's not like Reisterstown Road, right? You don't know how many people were like, oh, it's on Manor Road. And mind you,
They made the
it was
appointment though.
set back from the road with like a practical forest between the road and the front yard. Super long, not super long, but a long driveway. And it was like, and people were still like, no. So it's just something that, you know, just like my client, if that, you know, as long as they acknowledge that you've said to them, I'm here to help remind you that this is an investment, and I want to make sure that, you know, you understand that your purchase of this property may be less of an investment because location is everything. There are 3 things that flow into saleability of a home. Number 1, condition. Number 2, price. Number 3, Jaden. Location.
Hi, I just wanted to say hi. Okay, that's it.
Question.
So hold up. Location is the only thing from that you cannot change. Write that down. Location is the only thing you cannot change. So that is why when people want to buy houses on fucking busy roads, sorry, your kid is there. Why?
Cousin? I mean, not around me, but
It
Carry
just
on.
told
Carry
me.
on with the cousin.
she's
Carry on.
16.
I go to a public high school.
Right. She goes to Carver. Girl, please.
She made me watch the most inappropriate movie
Go,
like 2
go
weeks ago.
upstairs.
Oh,
Go
what,
on.
God.
She had a question.
Go on.
what'd you watch?
Freeway with Reese Witherspoon.
Oh, what was that?
Was that when she was selling her body?
No, technically no.
And then she held the guy at gunpoint because he was gonna like skimp her on $5. She was gonna rob him.
Oh, I remember that. I remember
And then
it.
she was like, "Give me your money." He gave her $5. She was like, "You said you give me 25." And yeah,
But she wasn't a hooker. She was going to rob him.
That is-
He was going to stiff her if she was a hooker.
Oh my God. I
and then
remember.
she put her in his trunk of his car and then stole his car.
Don't you have something else to say?
Freeway.
All right. Anyway, so back
Um,
because you know what? This is my I'm training. I'm going to record this and put this on my training portal.
Oh, God. Bad parenting. Ever.
Anyway, so here's the other thing. So once you've set that up, right? We picked a few. You're going to get an email. Then one of my tricks is never let them leave you without scheduling the next appointment.
So hold on, Alicia. Before we move forward, I have a question.
Tell me.
So with the topic we were on before we transitioned, would it not make sense to have a conversation with the client about? So okay, obviously the home's on a busy street. If I'm talking to a client that's older, and this is their forever house, and this is what they want, and resale isn't an option, isn't that why I shouldn't put too much of my personal opinion in it? Because in that case, it works for them. So how do I, like, what I don't want to do is taint the sale
You're not.
by,
So let's role play it out. You're the old person.
okay.
Do it.
All right, so I know this home is on Reisterstown Road, but I love it. I know the area. It's convenient to my family. Yeah, I've been hearing noise. I'm raised in a city. I don't care about the busy street nonsense. And I can tell you, I'm in my 60s. I'm not buying another house. I'm done.
You mentioned your family, right?
Yep.
Are you wanting to leave an asset for your family?
No, as my bestie Anisha would say, fuck them kids.
This is being recorded for future generations.
I'm sorry, my bad.
But like, so.
But no, I'm not worried about leaving them an asset.
Okay. Well, if you're not worried about leaving them an asset and you're okay with the lifestyle of the noise and it being busy, then, if you want to buy it. I'm not going to stop you.
Okay.
Just as long as you understand the ramifications of, you buy this and you get a mortgage on it, it may not appreciate like other homes that aren't on a busy street.
Gotcha. And what I'm hearing from you is that the more rapport and the deeper the relationship with the client, you have to gauge on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah. And you have to know when to shut the hell up, right? So it's like, look, I don't care about my kids. I don't care about the noise. And so it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to stop you, but it's also my fiduciary responsibility to make sure that you are making an informed decision, that you know that it may not appreciate like the other homes on the interiors of the neighborhood, that you know that when whomever goes to sell this house, whether it's after you pass away and it's your family or whatever, that this will take much longer to sell than other homes that are on the interiors. As long as you know and understand that, then you and I, we're good. Let's write it up. Let's go. You love this house. I'm not going to stand in your way. I just want to make sure that you're making an informed decision.
Okay, cool beans.
And when I have that problem, I also follow it up by an email. When clients don't listen to my advice, I'll be like, you know what? You're absolutely right. You're a grown up with money. You can do whatever you want. I'm going to follow this up with an email reiterating my concerns and my thoughts. And you just ponder over it. And if you're good, we will still move forward. And then that way they can't play the, you didn't tell me. And like I said, when clients want to waive home inspections, you make them sign something that says, my agent suggested a home inspection. I'm waiving it despite their, professional opinion. And then you waive the home inspection. As long as they're competent to make a decision, sell the house.
Then once I'm like, okay, here's the list of homes, we only came up with 8, but we're not really going out to look at houses right now or whatever. Like, we found a few that are of interest. I can expand the search if you're interested, or we can just see what comes up on the market, but let's go ahead and set up a time. You want to go out and look at houses on Saturday? How about 10 a.m.? Like, I literally never let them leave me without scheduling the next appointment. Now, if they have not spoken with a lender yet, then I would then say, hey, and before Saturday, make sure you talk to a lender. If, when do you want to, I realized I never asked, when do you want to be in your new home? You're going to ask them, approximately when. They might say August. Okay, well, listen, you will have wanted to select your home 45 to 60 days prior to your desired move-in date. So if you want to be in by August 1st, then we're looking at a June to June 15th selection date, meaning that you're going under contract between June 1st and June 15th. Because it takes about 45 to 60 days from the time you've selected your property to the time you close on your property. Okay? So you talk about that, which means that we don't have to go out and look at houses right this second, but I'd love to just kind of get you in the car. We can go, we can have a little bit of fun, kind of weed some stuff out that works, that doesn't work. But between now and then, you can also start going to some open houses, and then maybe May or so. A great way to bond them to you is build out a timeline, right? So we're going to go out and look at houses this weekend. Then you're going to go on a kind of an open house plan. And then come May, so about 30 days, maybe 45 days, we're going to start looking at houses more seriously. How does that sound? That sounds great.
That sounds great.
Right. And so, again, remember, I'm always saying, how does that sound? Do you have any questions? Does that work for you? Like, you're always asking for that confirmation, always.
So, training question.
Yeah.
So what is your stance on, depending upon the client, what I like to do is I will discuss with them a day to look. I won't kind of lock in the time, but I do want to keep that connection, like you said. What I prefer to do with certain people is have a follow-up after those showings, because there's a large subset of clients that I've met that just like to see homes. Like that, they just want to see homes versus seeing homes that make sense.
Sharing a blazer.
Hold up. So, Jason, have you done this with them?
Yes, I can't tell you it's the same exact way. I have to do it a little bit differently, but yeah, I've
Have
done
you
that.
done it to this level?
Virtually, well, virtually, obviously not. To that level, no, and it's just because I just had this conversation yesterday with Anisha. There's a lot more education that has to go in with some of the clients I work with. So usually it's not until we see, I usually show them between 1 to 3 houses to educate them what certain things are in a home. And then we can have a further deeper dive, because they don't know. They're looking at photos and just saying, I think this is kind of nice, right? So they don't have it. It's not until, unfortunately, that they see, oh, so this is kind of open. I think I like it. So.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to humor me.
Okay.
And stop showing, you can have a one house rule.
Okay.
1. And then you get this appointment, a deep dive discovery appointment where you position yourself. Anisha, she's grinning, so it sounds like she's told you this already. You do a deep dive and you establish yourself as the professional. You do your discovery, you do your contract presentation, you do your all your agency, everything. You get on the computer, you show them houses together. You look at them together, right? You just say, what does this do for you? I like it, I don't like it. Okay, great, move on. Next, do you like this? Do you like that? Do you not like this? Do you like that? And just like I said to you when we were kind of role playing it out, it will emerge what they like and what they don't like. It will start to present itself. And then you set up the time to look at houses together the second time. One house rule, then you have the deep dive buyer consult, then you go show houses. You control it.
And saying no is okay.
So just to clarify, because I don't think I clarified myself properly, there's an appointment before anything is seen. But before we get, in certain cases, in that appointment, if it's clear, and some of the folks that I work with are very honest with saying, I'm going to be honest, Jason, I'm not going to lie to you, man. I really don't know. So it's not that I don't want to answer your questions as accurately. I just don't know.
Okay,
So we'll go through a deep dive. I'll get general information. And then usually what I say is that, okay, we can see anywhere between 1 to 3 homes, and then we'll meet again. And the purpose of meeting again is that now doing that showing, I can point out certain things in terms of window types, open concept, backsplashes, etc. So now they come in a little bit more well-informed. And then in that second appointment, they're able to say, well, I can tell you now, I got to have a basement. I want to have a backsplash. I want this, because now they're educated more.
That's fine. You're not that is part of the drilling it down. So basically when you're doing this, what you're doing is you're looking at what does it look like on the outside, and are they reacting to the photos positively or negatively? Okay. So that what you're trying to do by doing this exercise first is so that you can start to sort of vicariously see through their eyes, so that when you then set up that tour of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 houses, then you are you're able to do it like you're looking through their eyes, right? When you go out that first time, that is when then some of the smaller details will start to materialize, right? Do they like the backsplashes? They told you that they'd accept one sink and a small potty, but really that's bullshit. They want 2 sinks, period, right? Like that's when that happens. So it's like, okay, well, you said you'd take 1, but it sounds to me like you really want 2. Like that's really more of a must than a like. And you have to work with them, and that's totally okay. I strongly recommend You don't have to then meet again, because then you might frustrate them, right? You do the one heavy deep dive meeting, and then you show them a set of houses. Then maybe if their timeline is too far out, you let them go to open houses. Then you set up the next time, you show them a second set of houses. To be honest with you, if you have done your job right, you are probably selling them something on the third or fourth trip out. If you've really set it up right, and you're listening to them, and you're showing them, as long as it's possibly there, you will sell them something on the third and fourth time out. And that's on looking at 5 to 6 houses per time.
One of the things that we talked about yesterday, Jason, and for Deb, for Mike and Deb, if you want, make sure when you're looking at the photo, the first showing, I usually let them pick just to see what they think they like.
Right. I send them the list, and then I let them pick 2. Yep.
Yeah. Once you go out that first time and you hear the objections about things they don't like, start looking at the square footage. Make sure you're looking at the style of house, because if they don't like a split level, eliminate it before you even go. Make sure you're controlling what you're showing them, so that it doesn't have to be 8 houses. Because I just looked at this. Did you see the house next door is abandoned? Did you see it's near a cemetery? Did you see it's whatever it is that it's a busy street? Do you know this? Like, if you know what their hot button item is, make sure that you're eliminating those things from your search, so that it dumbs it down for them. They're not overwhelmed, and then they can pick, which is all you really want.
This has been really, really informative, because I know one thing I'm realizing is I'm not doing a good job of steering,
Don't use the word steer.
Yeah, sorry. I'm not doing a good job of taking control of the showing situation. I'm just like, oh,
So Anisha said something that I forgot to say. So I would then send them the list. Hey, this is what we went through. We're scheduled to go out on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. I want you to pick 5. That we may not be able to see all 5. Some of them might sell out from underneath of us, whatever, but pick 5, and then that's what we're going to see. And then the second time we go out, I'm going to pick the houses. Now, you can send me things, you can whatever. The other thing I also tell people is, don't go hanging out on Zillow. It doesn't have accurate information. Use our website, Shop Baltimore Homes. It's there because it has the actual current information. If you drive by something and you're like, hey, I wonder why that didn't fall into my search, there's probably a reason. It's probably less or more money, or doesn't have the right bathroom combination. There is typically a reason, but go ahead and send it to me. I might, I'll figure out why, that kind of thing. Okay. Absolutely take control. You are the professional.
You remember Dick Matthews? Alicia?
Sally Dick Matthews?
He was a Long and Foster manager. Anyway, he worked with Roger Osler back in the day. Dick Matthews.
That's Sally Matthews' husband.
Maybe. I don't remember her.
You're like, sure.
He said, you are the boss of your business.
Mm-hmm.
You are the boss. So if you are in control of them people, control them. Rein them back in. Because so if somebody wants to see a house that's $20,000 over their budget, are you taking them?
No.
Right.
No.
So if you'll rein them in on price, rein them in on everything else. It only has 1 set of kitchen cabinets. You said you needed 47 cabinets. We're not going to see that house.
No.
Say no. And say it nicely. Say it,
Be like, this doesn't have what this
be like, Jenny, did you look at the kitchen?
And that's not the price point that you can afford. Yeah.
Do not say that.
What did he say?
The last part.
He said that's not the price range you can afford.
Oh.
Don't say that part.
Lesson learned. So when Sharon and I were splitting deals, 50-50, so we were working like all the clients together. She had a client, and I literally, like, off the cuff I was like, oh, wait, literally, it was something like this. We were standing in a house. They decided they didn't like it. And I was like, oh, I wonder if it would work for you. And then I was like, oh.
Wait, we lost you. What'd you say?
Oh, because I covered the mic. I'm sorry. I was standing in this house. I had shown them a house. It didn't work for them. This was Sharon's lead. And then I had remembered, I was like, oh, I wonder if this house would work for you. And I was like, I was trying to pull it out of my memory bank, right? So I was literally like this. And I was like, I'm like, I just showed it. I'm like, I think you clearly like it. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. No. That's not in your price range.
Got you.
She got so pissed. She
Gotcha.
told Sharon she never fucking wanted to see my face again. She got her panties in such a wad because I said that, and I mean, it's crazy. It was kind of stupid because I was like, really? Like, you're going to get that mad? Like, really? But yeah, she got that mad. So just be mindful. People get super offended over the tiniest little things, you know? So it's like, hey, if you want, you can say, hey, this might be this is outside of the budget you told me. This is what that means to you. So now here's the thing, guys. This is your last trick. For every $1,000, it's what? $5, okay? So 10,000 more. So on Jason's case, right? $10,000 more would mean another $50, right? So if I took him to 285, that means $1,750, right? Would you be willing to go to $1,750 for the right house?
Yes, I would.
Do you want me to adjust the search to go to 285?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay? Because here's the thing, you don't ask that question, he's going to go home and do it on his own.
And what I also often say is, I'm gonna spend your money like I spend mine, carefully and with thought. So you told me you wanted to be at this budget, but you like houses in this price point. I'm perfectly fine taking you to those. Tell me that you're okay going there. And then they feel like they've made the decision, you didn't push them there.
Right.
Like, because everything you keep sending me is in this price point. Like, you
20,000 more means another $100 to your payment. Are you okay with that?
Learn the client.
Learn the client, learn the math.
Learn the math, yes, definitely.
Learn the math. Being able to state things and explain it. What does another $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 mean to them?
Yeah, that makes you look super, super professional and just shows more value.
Exactly.
And will solidify that relationship.
Exactly. All right. Deb, I know you've seen me do that before. I think you do that pretty much all the time. Have you used this process? You're on mute. I can unmute you.
There it is. Unmute.
There it is.
Okay. I've definitely used the, we'll go out one time, but then we've got to sit down and do the paperwork. And that, because I feel like that's an opportunity for me. It's sort of been the opportunity to build a little rapport, and then they are willing to sit down and do the paperwork. Because I have experienced trying to sit down and do the paperwork first without sort of the one time off. Then I've had a harder time. So yeah, I've definitely done that. Use that whole, I'll do this one time, but then we sit down. I do the copy of the contract. I definitely do that. And yeah, and I've also done I've done that like with my out of town buyers. I did the same thing where the first time around they picked everything, and the second time around I picked things.
I need to do that.
Because they were just all over the place.
Yeah.
And so the first time around, I tried to spend a lot of time listening, and what they started out telling me was totally different than what they ended up buying.
Yep.
So
you have to control them, Mike. You have to say, floor that you wouldn't live in under 2,000 square feet. This isn't 1950. This is 1640.
Right.
That's a big jump. That's a whole room. So tell me why this house is different. Why is this the exception? Because otherwise, I think you should go see these houses. And then they'll be like, oh, I didn't even realize it was small. Yeah, scratch that. They will drop a house so fast. So fast.
my out-of-town buyers originally, the wife wanted to live in Mount Washington, and I listened to the husband. I was like, there is no freaking way they are ever going to live in Mount Washington. Like, they moved out to, the burbs, like way out in the burbs, because it just wasn't going to happen. So it saved a lot of time not looking at stuff around the city.
This is a whole nother subject, but Also pay attention to your clients from what she said. She figured out that he was leading the charge. Even though the wife said what she said, he was leading the
In
charge.
charge.
Cater to, but very carefully, the person leading the charge. As a figure out how you have to talk to them. Because if you're too strong as the woman, she sometimes will be like, wait a minute, you trying to get at my man. If you don't want to be a man too hard pushing up on the wife. Like, be careful in that instance, but make sure be like, John, does this meet your need? Because Sally said she wanted this, but point out things that will get him to the compromise point or to satisfy whoever's the boss.
We are undoubtedly marriage therapists.
Oh my gosh.
One
Yeah,
thing.
the wife started out telling me that the garage was optional. I'm like, I met him. He was like, I will not consider anything that doesn't have at least a 2-car garage. I'm like, so much for the optional garage. I mean,
Now, here's the thing I also want to tell you. No, this is why I want you guys to preview properties that I know I've been beating my head up against the wall, and now we can't preview properties, but you can also do daily MLS kind of previews.
But also there's video tours now, so that's even better.
Right. So here's this is why, okay? When I have somebody coming from, and I'm going to pick on Texas right now, they all have garages. Every single goddamn house in Texas has a fucking garage, okay? They're going to come here and they're going to go, well, I have to have a garage. Right? But they don't want to live more than 15 minutes from the city center, okay? So this is where you have to basically educate them. You have to explain, well, unfortunately, Baltimore just wasn't built that way. And, with from city center to 15 minutes in any direction, because the city was built this way, right? So 15 minutes was built about in the 40s and the 50s. You might get a carport, you might get a garage, but it's not a guarantee. So let me ask you, is a garage the most important thing or the commute? Which one is more important? They're going to tell you the garage is more important. Then I'm going to say, in order to guarantee you a garage, we're going to have to go out to 20 to 25 minutes. Because they just weren't part of the housing stock when that part of the city was being built. Okay? Know your inventory. You can overcome objections much faster that way.
Yeah. It's a big deal. It's a deal maker, not a deal killer. If you tell them, I know this for sure, this is what I can get you, but this is what it's going to cost. Cost is not always financial. It's travel, it's location, it's time, it's whatever. Right. And I had a guy that told me up and down he wasn't spending more than $190. He's under contract for $225. Why? Because what he wanted didn't exist at $190. Oh, well, let's go see these shitholes. Oops, sorry. Yeah. And then he was like, oh, nah, I need everything gray. Okay. This is what gray costs.
All right. Any other questions?
No, none for me. I've taken away a lot.
Can you guys,
the other thing is schedule the next appointment.
Yeah.
Always do that.
I need to be so much better at that.
Take out your phone, make them take out their phone and do it.
Right there. Yeah.
Even if they have to reschedule, but at least it's on the books. You have a reason to talk to them. Make sure you schedule the next appointment.
What you looking at?
all right. Any other questions for the good of the order?
No.
Tom had yet another video today. He interviewed a couple of agents with some really good scripts. One of the things was every single deal in contract, we need to be calling the lender and making sure that they are going to be able to fund it.
Okay, I'll do that.
Every single deal.
So call lender for Greenberry.
I'm going to stop recording now.